Hello. Um, Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our live. I do believe I am live. I just had my camera on the wrong way around. So yes, I went live yesterday at 10 a.m. expecting to speak to Sabrina, and I had the day wrong. So apologies about that. But here we are this morning. We are speaking to Sabrina Merolla. I'm going to have to check with her that I pronounced her name right because I don't think that's correct. Anyway, we're speaking about the work that she submitted to the Photojournalism Hub's Injustices and Inequalities campaign. She's produced some amazing work in the past. She's won many awards, multiple awards for her All China's Fast Food series, and then she did a Blue Days series, My Blue Days with F series, and then the series that she submitted to us called Daydreamings and White Lies, which is made up of lots of photo collages and which we've been posting over the last couple of days on Instagram and on our stories and on our post. So yeah, just waiting for Sabrina to join, and then we can get chatting to her, learn a bit more about her work, and essentially a bit similar to the other chats really, have a bit of an introduction, learn more about the actual work that she submitted, her personal experience of that, and how she felt the conversations that have started during COVID have been kind of increased, and how injustices and inequalities have been further amplified through CV19, and then also where we go from here and where she goes from here, and how we can continue to make real change. So yeah, let's see if we can get her on. I was speaking to her just a second ago, so I know she's around, so hopefully she's giving us a watch. So Sabrina, if you are watching, hello, and just request to be in the video and use the little double face symbol at the bottom of your live, and I will let you in. I'll drop you a quick email. There's always technical problems, isn't there? Why is there always technical problems? It is funny. I mean, again, at least it's actually the right day today. Yesterday was, probably not hilarious for you guys, but I did find it quite funny. But there you go. You learned a small snippet of my skincare routine, and once again, I believe I spoke about my breakfast. So there you go. I'm happy to delve into more information on that this morning while we wait for Sabrina, but really, probably best not. So like I said, do check out her work. Her work is incredible, actually. She started as a researcher and a sinologist in Chinese cultural studies in mainland China, which is amazing, and then started as a photographer, and she won the Creative Commons Focus on China Award. I mean, honestly, this girl is amazing, and you would have seen that from her work. So, here she is. Hello, Sabrina. Okay, I'm just going to let you in, and then we can enjoy chatting to her, and she can tell you about her work rather than me, which will be much more interesting. Let's see her go live. It is hot today, isn't it, by the way? Like, whoa. We're just waiting for Sabrina to join us. I believe she lives in London now, although I need to check, actually. I'm not 100% sure on that. Cynthia, I can see that you're watching. Hello, can you confirm if she lives in London now? Or I could just ask her myself when she gets live. Either way. We're just waiting for Sabrina. And then we can have a bit of a chat. I hope you guys have all been enjoying the talks anyway, actually. It's been really nice bringing you something every day. Like taking a pause from this Injustices and Inequalities campaign and, having, I said it before, but like just having the chance to chat through it and kind of really look as a team ourselves, but also with you guys, the changes that can be made and what we can do. Sabrina's struggling to join, so I'm just going to try again. It's just the changes that can be made. Like, I think we can all be very guilty of creating work, can't we? I mean, photojournalistic work anyway, and photography like this always pushes for change by its very nature, and the more competitions that are entered and the more the work is produced, the more said issue is highlighted. But yeah, I think this campaign is really about taking a pause now and going, okay, all of this work that we've had, what can we do with it? How can we shout louder? What can photojournalism hub do to really carry on pushing the barriers? Like has been revealed, we plan on kind of doing an event either later in the year or next year, depending on obviously what happens with COVID, and like just really trying to push the boundaries, make a dossier, like go to the people that matter and say, okay, this is what needs to be done. Look what's happening, because I think there are so many injustices around, that. And then they've only just excelled via COVID, and some of them kind of really, really detrimentally. Oh, hello!
I'm
How are
sorry, I
you?
was having so many issues with my laptop and everything, and
Oh,
it was a mess.
no problem at all. No problem at all. These things always
I
happen,
was
don't they? I think
listening to you. Thank you for all the very nice things you were saying about me, which
I
of
was
course are
about
not
to.
true.
I was checking my notes, and then I was just like, "Oh no!" The thing is, I've got such a long list of wonderful accomplishments. I was kind of, "Oh my god, I don't know where to start." Looking at my notes, so yeah, I was a bit lost in my own
Because I'm
writing.
old. I'm very old. It's just
No.
that.
How are you this
Nice to
morning,
meet you
anyway?
finally. I can
I
see your
know,
face now.
I know. Likewise, likewise. And how are you this morning?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Just some problems with my connection and everything connected to it.
Don't worry, we
Sorry.
are live now, so it's all good. And actually, I wasn't sure. Where are you based? Are you based in London or?
I'm based in London, but now I'm in Italy, in the south of Italy, in Naples, because I'm from Italy. I'll be back
Ah,
in 10 days.
okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Were you having a nice break over there, or seeing family, or?
Actually, I was here for some medical check, but of
Okay.
course, I didn't meet my parents since October, so it was time, because with the
Yeah,
lockdown and everything, it was a bit difficult to meet each
yes.
other.
Yeah, I know. It has been hard, hasn't it? That is the hardest thing, I think, family and stuff. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Sorry for the confusion yesterday. There I was going live. Like, I swear it's today, and it wasn't. Oh, like honestly, I don't. You know when you have one of those weeks where you seriously think, I honestly don't know how I've got. Like, how am I an adult and have managed to pay a mortgage and hold down a job? Because honestly, my brain has been mush this week. But anyway,
I
I
think
digress.
everybody's
I
the same way. Don't worry at all. Actually, it was really funny.
um, so yeah, let's talk about you and your project, because I know that like obviously the Injustices and Inequalities campaign is all about raising awareness of um, so exactly that, things that have kind of maybe become more visible for people during COVID, or have become more prevalent, created more of a community, impacted people. And I think you submitted some really beautiful work as part of your Daydreaming and White Lies campaign. So I don't know if you want to kind of give people a really quick overview of yourself, like a quick background, and then let's crack on and talk about that submission.
Yes, of course. Well, as you said before, I think, I started to be a photographer actually a live music event photographer and a street photographer. And then I moved to China, where I was a researcher in cultural studies. And it was a kind of part-time job. And meanwhile, I started to be interested to documentary photography and, with human and social issues, basically. That's what I'm mostly interested to. And well, it's a very long story, and I think the best is just saying that I got sick in China because of pollution. So I have
Oh,
fibromyalgia and multiple chemical sensitivity because I
yeah.
got poisoned with aluminium. And I've been fighting with these while I was taking my MA in multimedia journalism and moving back to Italy, and then finally feeling better and moving to London. And I'm in London since 2 years. And
Yeah.
actually, it's quite easier in London for people like me because even if I have invisible neurological conditions, they are recognized as debilitating conditions in England. So, I could be an independent woman, but also have my own disability without feeling like I wasn't able to do my daily stuffs, having a normal kind of living.
Yeah.
This until the pandemic, I guess, because actually my condition and my chemical sensitivity makes things a bit complicated when I have to deal with everything, basically, perfumes, traffic, um, every possible thing that is poisonous and is in the air. So basically, I don't know, bleach that you use to clean and so on.
Wow.
And so I can have many reactions. Sometimes they're stronger, sometimes they're very light, and it's fine. Usually I can manage. And that's how the story began. That's what my project was about. Actually, it is a kind of self-portrait, basically.
I think that's
Um
brave actually as well to share that because I'm not I am familiar with both of those conditions. I didn't know actually that you could this is very naive of me, but I didn't know that you could get those conditions, develop those conditions. I thought that was something that you were born with essentially. So that's really sad to hear actually that you essentially contracted them from poisoning. And is that something that for you, is a lifelong condition, or is it something that can be resolved?
the truth is that nobody really knows anything about it. I mean, there are many
No.
researchers, and they're supposed to be lifelong conditions because they're chronic, but
Yeah.
nobody knows if they really are chronic illnesses. There are some persons who get better, and they get better for something like 10 years, 20 years, which is actually amazing. And um, for fibromyalgia, I cannot say it. I mean, there are persons who can tell better, but for MCS, you can have some kind of issues maybe from birth, but usually it's more like an environmental illness. So it's
Okay.
more due to what you eat, what you breathe, the kind of living yeah, your daily routine actually, and where
Which
it
is obviously
is.
very difficult when, like exactly like you said, when something like COVID comes along and you've got something which is so detrimental to people's health, but also your daily routine is impinged. So the things that you're exposed to are different, like wearing a face mask, for example,
Yes,
the fabric, even as simple as the fabric on the face mask, the smell or the chemicals they use in the face mask, your ability
yes.
to be able to go out and stuff like that.
But
So,
actually, no,
go on.
just tell me. Well, actually, the funny thing with COVID-19, with the lockdown, is that the air was so clean. I mean, we could
Oh,
breathe
because
so
no
well.
cars. Yeah. It has been amazing from that point. I mean, I up until recently heard the birds a lot more, which was a beautiful silver lining. So, so you've done a project about this before, haven't you? Called My Blue Days with F. So daydreamers and white lies. How, I don't know. Do you want to explain a bit about if that's like a progression on from that initial project, or how that's developed, or like the direct response it is to CV-19?
Yes, that was my project about fibromyalgia, basically. It was an Instagram project. It was while I was still in China. I didn't know what was really happening to me. Started there and ended up in Italy and then went on for years. It was a kind of diary or the progression of what was happening to me, talking about, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, mental issues like brain fog, so a kind of confusion, and also the way people treat you when they think you have fibromyalgia. At first, I was diagnosed with
Yeah.
fibromyalgia in 2014. And then in 2016, actually, we discovered that I had this aluminium poisoning. And so I started with a different doctor who diagnosed my MCS to work on, let's say, cleaning my body with a very in-depth detox.
Okay.
And then I got really better. And we discovered that I actually cannot take medications. So I was accustomed to, let's say, expose my story, to show my story online, because I still think that I'm quite lucky actually, because I can talk about it, I can deal with it, and so on. And some way I always find solutions. And this is what happened to me also during the pandemic, because before the lockdown, I was going through a lot of pain, and
Hmm.
I was given some very heavy, let's say, painkillers, basically, usually used also for arthritis and so on.
Okay.
And exactly when the lockdown started, I was running with a slight fever, having chronic pain, my throat hurt, and and had some kind of symptoms. It could it be COVID-19 or not? And the thing is that I was diagnosed many times by 111 on the phone, as a COVID-19 affected person. But actually, I went on having this kind of allergic reaction to all the medicines they told me to take. So paracetamol and this and that. And I started having many, many issues breathing, which was normal for COVID-19. So every time
Yeah.
I went to the emergency room, basically they said that probably it was a slight COVID-19. I just had to wait for a few weeks and to keep isolated. And basically, I had to take care of myself on my own, because when I wasn't able to breathe, I took cortisone and some other things that I had home. And then I quit taking the medication they gave me. When the last time I went on April to the emergency, they told me that probably it was panic. And I was very, very tired to hear all these things. And
Yeah.
so I ended up telling my father, who's a medical doctor in Italy, what was going on. And it took him something like 2 minutes to tell me what to do. And after 10 days, I was breathing well again and so on. And I went back home, basically.
And then, so that Daydreamings and White Lies, is that a reflection of that period of time? Like, I'm really intrigued by the title actually, and like, because daydreaming
Because,
suggests.
yeah, the thing is that while I was not able to sleep, I was sleeping actually sitting because I wasn't able to breathe properly.
Yeah.
And I did it for 2 months. Every day around 6, 7 p.m., I was, dressing up, putting on my makeup, and having this little play for my parents, telling that everything was all right and so on. And and actually, it was all right some way, because I knew that I had this kind of date, this kind of meeting every
Yeah.
night. And if I
Marker.
arrived at 6, 7 p.m., I
Yeah.
was fine, even if I was coming back from the hospital or any bad things. I mean, it was one of the many tricks I used not to get depressed, like watching series, so many series of The Simpsons on the laptop and so on, trying to laugh all day long and so on.
Yeah.
Just keeping myself very active with smiling and
Yeah.
and
Good for you.
it's like playing with two different dimensions, because one is the kind of pictures that I started to take around where I live when I was able to go out for a walk or else. So, pictures of my neighbors hanging these big, big tags saying, give them PPA, or clapping to the NHS on Thursday nights, or my oximeter to just see the levels of if I was breathing well or not, the little clip that you put on your fingers, all these
Yeah.
daily things, mix it up. And then I decided to share it. So I decided also to portray my daily routine in a very surreal way. So I used this little fake camera, like paper, and it's like a kaleidoscopic lens. It's just a toy that I
Yeah.
bought for a friend's kid, and I put it on my mobile phone, so you can see all these very strange pictures of the parks and everything, and this kind of
Yeah.
very it I guess it is beautiful, but it's also a bit claustrophobic, the atmosphere that it creates, because it's like science fiction, actually. It's not real. And so
Well,
I
I think that's
mixed,
how it's been for many of us, hasn't it? Sorry. I was going to say, I think that's how it's been for, that's quite reflective of how it is for many of us as well. So,
yeah, that's actually what I hope to hear from somebody because
yeah.
that's how I felt it, but I wasn't sure that it was the same way for everyone. But
Mm.
yes, it was the kind of daily lockdown and in a kind of science fiction we all were living in, together with the play that I was creating for my parents, so very clear and understandable pictures. And I created this kind of collage. And it was a way to actually to denounce what was happening to me and to people like me. Because the thing is that we were all waiting for the government to tell us what to do since March. But even
Mm.
if they said that people with chronic neurological condition were supposed to shelter, it wasn't for this kind of invisible, slight neurological conditions like mine. So
Yeah.
we didn't really get any help. And it happened to many persons, sick or not. I mean, it's the same, not to be able to get to connect with their GP as it happened to me. I called many times, but there was no answer. It was super busy, possibly, and so on.
I think there's so many people
So,
there that have got invisible. Like so, for instance, this brings up the conversation around mental health and how
yeah,
CV-19 has had a huge impact on those suffering with mental health issues, not only pre-existing ones who may have needed the daily support of their doctor, but equally daily support of friends and family, and are
yeah,
suddenly in a very isolated position and incredibly vulnerable, with no way of having essentially a lifeline. Um, but also people actually, I suppose we all think maybe because we're all going through it all and it's all this mass thing, that maybe we're not entitled to kind of feel however we're feeling and feel depressed. But actually, I think that there is still, because things are so changing, aren't they, all the time, and we're being thrown around, and as humans we like routine. And I think that, yeah, the invisibility of mental health and the invisibility of a neurological condition, like
I
your,
believe that apart from me and people like me, I mean, there is a huge part of the population that has a kind of PTSD at the moment. I mean,
yeah,
we had a huge trauma. And what is happening, like pretending that everything is fine and going back to work and
yeah,
to daily business, actually, I don't know how long it will last. I mean, because we're, we should talk about it. I mean, we should actually express our stories. And from an historical point of view, that this could be really a turning point, you know?
yeah,
To understand many things about also the system, the economic system we live in. And at first we
yeah.
said we were going to change everything, but we're not. Actually, we're just making it worse at the moment everywhere. I can see it in
It's
Italy
hard to,
now, as in England. I mean,
yeah, it's so hard, isn't it? And I think that it was met, change is met with a lot of positivity, but equally a lot of resistance. And I suppose everybody has to manage that accordingly, including like in governments and stuff. But I think that's why work like this is so important. And it was really exciting to receive, and really exciting when I looked through it, because it's it's someone having the bravery and the courage to share their own personal experience, and in some way that resonating with other people. And I think that's what this whole campaign is about. It's like, what are you experiencing, or what are you seeing, and how are you experiencing that as an injustice and an inequality, and how has that been heightened through CV-19, and what can we do about that? So the fact that you're even, courageous enough to share your story is, and we're sat here chatting about it, is enough to, well, it's not enough, but it's a start, isn't it, about getting people to talk about So does that interest you? Like in terms of following, do you think you might continue to track your own journey? Do you think you might look at something like PTSD or, you know, where do you, how, I'm interested to see how
That's
you,
the
because
thing
obviously
that I
your
think I
experience.
wasn't. You say I was brave. I think I was desperate. That's different. I was
Yeah,
desperate to
okay.
find, to resonate about it, to understand it, and not to get mad about what was going on. And I'm a photographer, and to me, the easiest way to to think about things is just like portray
Oh,
the
it's all right, you're back, you're back.
to is yeah, it was a kind of a art therapy, let's say, because it has a documentaristic approach in the captions, but
Yeah.
actually it's completely random. It's completely from my point of view. I was just like, it was like a stream, a flow. Everything was just all of a sudden I needed to put all these things together, and I did it. And then I understood it through writing the captions actually, and I felt calm again. But the
That's
thing is
amazing.
that, yeah, kind of. I still have PTSD, I'm quite sure, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's amazing that that's been a therapeutic process for you, and actually,
Yeah.
um, you said it was to stop you getting mad and to stop you getting desperate. So actually, you're kind of what you're doing is you're kind of dealing with two invisible things there, because you're dealing with the invisibility of the fibromyalgia, um, and the chemical sensitivity, and then as a result of COVID, that is then therefore bringing you a further invisibility in terms of mental health and how you keep that in check. And you're using something, well, incredibly visual, aren't you? So that's really interesting.
Actually, I think it's similar to what happens in therapy sometimes, that you have to leave things again and you just
Yeah,
have to deal with them instead of forgetting about them.
yeah,
And I think that's what I would like to try to do with other persons, which is like letting them tell their stories. So there are people who really were getting worse than me, were having many, I mean, I'm quite sure that even if I wasn't able to breathe and so on, I was so lucky because I didn't have COVID-19 at first. And this is the
yeah,
first thing. So, and also because at the end of the day, I could call my father, who's a doctor, who knew perfectly what I was going through. So maybe I was
yeah,
very silly. I should have called him before, even if I'm more than 40 years old. I should have
yes.
just called my dad. And
We all have our dads.
I, at the end of the day, actually, all the people like me know that they never can trust anyone because nobody knows anything about MCS. It's very, very individual the way you react to different chemicals. So there is always this chance that you can explain everything through it, which is something good some way. And yes, I think that I would like to deepen the topic with people with neurological conditions, especially with fibromyalgia and MCS, if it is possible.
Yeah,
And who knows, if they do agree, we could do a kind of participatory project. So they could
yeah,
try, with a little help, to express themselves through photography and text, but without using me as a photo reporter or something like that. I mean, I could just
yeah,
facilitate them a bit, but help them express their story in their own way. I mean, which is,
yeah,
I think it's really, it adds up meaning to
yeah.
what you're doing. And, or I could do
Yeah,
also traditional
it's powerful,
reportage if
isn't
they
it?
don't want. Hmm?
Yeah, it's powerful. I think it's a powerful way of expressing your own feelings, and it's a powerful way of connecting with other people, but also a powerful means, like you said, to facilitate somebody else who might be struggling, and continuing to raise awareness. So actually that brings me kind of onto our, it's so interesting, honestly, I could sit here and chat to you all day actually. So it's kind of a shame that we're gonna have sure. But I think that it would be really good to I think it's so interesting. I think anybody watching this and or is watching this on the replay, like you have to go and check out Sabrina's work. Like it's really interesting. And now I've spoken to you more, I'm even more intrigued. Like even though I read the captions and I've read some of the stuff, it's really interesting to hear what you've said and kind of, I suppose, just remind ourselves about some of the stuff that's going on. And it's not just the physical that you see going on, it's all of this invisible stuff. I mean, there's just so much. So yeah, it's good. I urge everyone to go and look at the series and read the captions. Yeah, we've just had someone comment saying, Gemma saying, it is great, I love it. So that's really good. So kudos to you. So yeah, how do you see, well, firstly, I think, if you're okay to answer this, what, and if you're not, that's fine, but what are the, like, so we're speaking to some of the other photojournalists about the different challenges that they've faced during COVID, creating the work, whether that be because they're on the front line, because they're a woman, because they were receiving abuse, whatever it is. What do you think that you're faced with any additional challenges because of the condition in terms of creating your work that
During
have been
the,
made more prevalent from CV-19? So yeah, I know that
is
seems
it
like an
during
obvious
the
question.
lockdown or in general?
Yeah, well, both. I mean, yeah.
Well, during the lockdown, my problem was that I was supposed to shelter, but I wanted to go out shooting.
Yeah,
Then everything ended up with me being sick, so it was fine. I had to stay home anyway. But
yeah,
I really felt that there was so much to tell, and I felt so frustrated. That's why I have all these pictures that I shoot around my house and so on, because even around my house, everything was so changed that it was interesting, extremely interesting. I mean, it was daily routine in the north of London during the lockdown. And as somebody, and this is the same as someone with a chronic condition, of course, because that's always the challenge, that sometimes you have to get accustomed to do this job, knowing that many times you won't be able to do it. And you will have to change your plans, your programs, or just the way you do it. Maybe something will be an online interview instead of a photo reportage, and it will be fine. I mean, the important thing, I mean, as a multimedia storyteller, I mean, I guess, yeah, I wanted to be a photographer, but being a multimedia storyteller is something that makes my life easier, actually, as somebody with fibromyalgia and MCS, somebody who wakes up one day and cannot go out.
yeah.
And during COVID-19, what else? Can you repeat the other part of the question? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, no, I think you've answered it. I think that's great. I think
Okay.
yeah, I think that's really, really great. And I suppose that proves that you have to remain as positive as you can and persistent and like don't give up. And like, I suppose if you were going to give some advice to other photojournalists who might be suffering from similar conditions and creating work about either their own condition or similar conditions, what would you say?
Well, I think the great thing, I mean, the amazing thing that I've learned from my illnesses is not to never give up. I mean, that's obvious. That's obvious for everything, but maybe, I mean, it's necessary, not obvious. Um, but it is to always change your point of view, your perspectives. For example, I
That's
mean,
great.
something that I think is really important to say about my project, because it seems like NHS is horrible from what I say, but it's not that way. I mean, I met gorgeous persons and some other people who got really confused when I told them what I had. But what I saw in front of me were very, very young nurses who maybe were just starting to do their job with a pandemic, in a lockdown, with no PPA, very scared to get nearer to me because maybe I had
Yeah,
COVID-19. And they were
yeah,
human. And I think that now they have a PTSD that it's heavier than mine for sure, but they have been doing their job for months And I mean, we should all thank them. I mean, I saw persons who were really, really so generous, even if they really didn't know what to do, and calm and sweet, just, humans, which
Yeah.
is rare sometimes when you're under pressure. And yeah, this is the thing. What I learned from my illnesses, from all this confusion that it creates sometimes, is that it's just to stop and see things from the point of view of the others. I mean, everybody has a bad day, everybody can have a very bad reaction, but everybody can say something which is really inappropriate sometimes, but maybe didn't want to really uh, be discriminating you or being aggressive toward you, or else maybe it came from something else. Sometimes we look at words, but words are not literally those words. I mean, there is something else.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
you're
know
right.
if I
And
was
also
able to
situation.
explain. And actually, as a photojournalist, that's the danger. Sometimes you may think that everything is clear and take very clear and traditional pictures and say the story only from one layer, one side. But we have a camera, we have gorgeous subjects, and they are human, and maybe sometimes something they say and that can really annoy us is actually the challenge that changes our stories and gives adds up to our stories, actually gives us a new vision, a new perspective, and makes it more
Yeah.
and more and more interesting and deeper. So maybe this.
That's so That's a lovely. I think that's honestly. I think that's so lovely. That's such a like uplifting way to start a Friday, isn't it? And such a positive thing. I think that yeah, to change your perspectives and remember that words aren't necessarily as literal as they are intended. Often there's a lot of other stuff going on, and yeah, you're right. That is a danger of imagery, to take the literal interpretation of something and reflect that in one's own image making, or read that literal meaning in other people's
Yeah.
creations and not look further. So, and I think that's where your work offers the ability to do that. The captions help, and then because of the nature of the work and the confusion and the kaleidoscopic lens that you mentioned, it warrants more inquiry. So I think that's a wonderful place to end. I think that's really lovely. I think that's a beautiful takeaway. I think that's so. Guys, keep going. Don't give up, and yeah, change your perspective. And if I think if Sabrina can create some beautiful work from inside her own home, I do think that's incredible. I think good for you, because I do look around my own home and think not inspired. But there is, and maybe actually that lack of inspiration is inspiration itself. Who knows? But yeah, I think that's a really nice finisher. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was an amazing
Uh,
talk, actually. I have to talk
yeah,
with
it
you
was.
later on.
I know, it's really interesting. I was like, this is really good. I want to carry on doing this. But I really like the way you, you're very good at taking what you just said about taking words literally. That's how I think, but I'm never able to express it. So I think you're very good, and I don't know if that comes from just something naturally or any of your previous roles, but you're very good at putting what can be quite confusing thoughts into a concise sentence, which is very difficult. So I think, yeah, well done. And I really, really look forward to seeing more of your project, and I look forward to sharing it more on the Photojournalism Hub. And I hope we can have you back for a further talk, or do something, when we do an actual event where we can all kind of be in the same room and have a drink, that you might be able to talk for us more, and we can get you those other people so that you can help facilitate that
Oh, that
art
would be
therapy
amazing.
process.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
would
think that
really
would be
amazing. And
amazing.
also, meeting in person, that would be good.
Mm. I know, exactly, right? Like being able to stand next to someone or just shake their hand or give them a hug or something. But thank you
I
so much for
admiring
taking the
all
time.
you're doing, so I'm really, really, it's kind of honor for me to be here. Thank you very much. And thank you
Oh,
for
no,
your interesting questions as well. Really.
I thank you. Well, I hope so. And yeah, I think Cynthia, who uh, is the founder of Photojournalism Hub, just is constantly coming up with ideas, and she's a force to be reckoned with. So yeah, she's an incredible woman, and I think that together as a team, yeah, I think it's just we just want to shout louder, and this is a wonderful way to have a conversation with with our community, but also build this kind of dossier of reaction. So that I keep using the word actionable change, but I think it's a really key term in terms of, like you said, speaking to people. So yeah, I think let's continue doing that. And thank you for being so inspiring, and thank you for it is courageous. So thank you for sharing your journey, and whether it was through desperation or courage or sheer and utter madness, thank you for doing that.
Okay, thank you very much. And
I
I'll
look
see
forward
you
to
soon, I
speaking to
hope.
you really. Yeah, see you soon. See you soon. Oh, hang on, actually, do you
Okay.
want to, before we go, do you want to like share? I mean, I'll share it later, but just so that you have the closing words rather than me. Do you want to share like any last phrases about your work, or do you want to share your web link or anything? Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
It's very easy. It's just my name and surname. I can write it here if you want,
Yeah,
down
do
the
so.
chat.
It's Sabrina
Just my
Merolla. Is that right?
website or
Yeah,
my
Instagram.
Sabrina Merolla. Maybe it's better to write it because it's Italian.
Okay. um, okay,
It's
perfect.
just
And
this.
thank you.
And I
Yeah.
guess this is
Okay.
my account, so everybody knows. Thank you for this. And
That's all
yeah,
right. No
thank you very
problem.
much.
We're
Sorry.
all here. That's all right. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.